to the local government officials. Kung magdating na if the supplies that we are getting from the outside would more or less go up in numbers to make an inventory that would be comfortable to distribute to the local governments. Just make sure that you have yung cold storage. Kasi itong bakuna needs malamig. And you must have it, otherwise, if you have some about 10,000 or 20,000 and you do not have the proper equipment to take care of the integrity of the vaccine, baka masasayang lang. Hindi mo magamit kasi mag-expire. So the best way is to prepare your cold storage now, whatever be the shape, basta malamig lang, kailangan gumagawa ng ice. Siguro yan, medyo, so lahat nakikinig ngayon mga mayor, just kung wala, magbili na kayo ng 2 o 3 freezer, not the refrigerator, freezer, para sigurado talaga na pagdating, ilagay mo na doon, hindi mo magamit kaagad. But the ideal thing to do to us, kami dito is, pagdating dyan, you immediately assemble the people there and start barangay per barangay, turok na lang.
The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Health Department confirms that the reproduction rate of COVID-19 has dropped to below 1 in the entire country, including Metro Manila. Greg Gregorio now joins us live from Mandaluyong to discuss this, as well as other updates from today's health briefing. Greg, good afternoon. What exactly does this lower R0 now mean for our country, at least from a policy perspective?
Charles, good afternoon. According to the Department of Health, below 1 R0 means that transmission is being controlled, and an R0 below 1 would mean that one infected case may only infect one person, less than one person rather. Thus, the transmission might eventually die down on its own. Earlier today, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere confirmed that the R0 for the whole country is at 92, while for NCR it's 0.80. And according to Vergere, this might mean below 1 R0, but we have not reached yet our target pre-surge condition. For example, here in the National Capital Region, the average daily cases is still at 666, but our target pre-surge condition is at around 300 plus daily average new cases, which is back in January and February. Thus, according to Vergere, the general community quarantine has been extended over the National Capital Region since the situation here is still fragile and the cases may rise again if complacency will occur. Charles?
Greg, let's talk about these reports of certain Indonesian doctors or Indonesians who have been reported to have died after receiving their vaccination. What is the DOH saying about this?
Charles, the DOH fears that this kind of report might cause vaccine hesitancy among Filipinos, because according to Health Undersecretary Vergere, the reports from media across the globe about this incident in Indonesia is incomplete. They only tell the number of health workers who succumbed to death, but according to Vergere, we need more details for us to better analyze the situation. And according to Vergere, if it is linked to the Sinovac vaccines, at what is being told in media reports internationally, Vergere said real-world data show that Sinovac vaccines already has a 96% protection against severe infection, while it has a 98% protection against possible death. Charles?
Greg, do we know of any instances of COVID vaccine-linked deaths in the country?
Charles, according to the June 2021 report of the National Adverse Events Following Immunization Committee, or NAFIC, 293 cases have been reported so far among vaccinated individuals who succumbed to death. 22 of them had severe infection of COVID-19 and resulted to death. But according to the Department of Health, none of which are having direct causality or direct relation to COVID-19 vaccine. Charles?
Greg, let's talk about those who have reportedly experienced severe side effects due to the COVID-19 vaccines. What are the numbers looking like for this category?
Charles, according to the June 2021 report, when there are only 6.2 million individuals in the country who had received their first dose, about 44,900 individuals have reported to experience a severe adverse event. These are side effects that needed hospitalization, such as severe allergy or increased blood pressure, and of course death. But this is a small number as compared to the total number, which is 6.2 million at that time. Charles?
In relation to this, I understand that PhilHealth has introduced the COVID-19 vaccine injury compensation package. Could you tell us more about the scope and limitation of this indemnity fund?
Yes, Charles, according to Dr. Shirley Domingo, the Vice President for Corporate Affairs of PhilHealth, they have this COVID-19 injury package for those individuals who have received their COVID-19 vaccine from the National Vaccination Program and then experienced severe adverse effects from their inoculation. According to Dr. Domingo, these are the ones who had severe infection and needed hospitalization or experienced permanent disability and or suffered death. According to Dr. Domingo, claims may be filed to the PhilHealth until March 2026. And for those and included in the package is a 100,000 peso assistance for hospitalization that is on top of the all-case rate packages that the PhilHealth is offering for individuals. And if a death is recorded, a lump sum money of 100,000 pesos may be given at one time to those relatives of the case who died. Charles?
Thanks for those updates, Greg. That was Greg Gregorio reporting live from Mandaluyong. Despite the global vaccine rollout, an expert from Johns Hopkins University tells Bloomberg News that the Delta variant should absolutely be feared. He notes that non-vaccinated individuals remain most vulnerable. Let's listen in.
Should we fear the Delta variant?
Absolutely. I mean, given how quickly it is spreading, it should be a concern because it can destabilize even countries that have done a pretty good job vaccinating. So for that reason, I think all these warnings are reasonable, and it's an extra push to get people vaccinated and to help people and others understand the importance of vaccination.
Great, rah, we're going to do it. Celebrities will step in and say, get vaccinated, etc. Or do we need corporations, sporting events, etc., to say, enough, you got to be vaccinated if you want to participate?
I imagine that is going to happen, particularly as the vaccines move from the authorization stage to getting licensed. I think it'll become more of a standard in this country, given the very strong safety record that they have and the fact that they'll be fully licensed. I think that probably is going to happen more and more.
Dr. Sharfstein, you said that the Delta variant could destabilize countries, even that have high rates of vaccination among the population. Can you elaborate?
Well, I think countries that have very high rates of vaccination are going to be protected, but countries that have pretty high rates, you can see now even the United Kingdom, cases going up, and even the sign that deaths may be going up. The United States, where we have states with relatively middling levels of vaccination, we're going to be particularly vulnerable. We'll see meaningful outbreaks, and if not the fall, maybe even this summer in some places, based on just how transmissible this virus is. And, hospitals will start to fill up again.
Well, Dr. Sharfstein, there's a distinction between destabilizing nations that have vaccinated individuals because those vaccinated individuals are getting sick from the Delta variant, as certain news reports out of Israel showed over the weekend, versus just being more prevalent among those who are not vaccinated. I mean, can you give us a sense of the risks on the other side, even for vaccinated individuals?
The risks are much less for vaccinated individuals. So vaccinated individuals can still get sick. They can still get very sick, but it is pretty rare. But, we should care about how the entire state, the entire country is doing. And by that metric, we should all be worried, because it is true that people who are unvaccinated are particularly vulnerable.
The National Privacy Commission is now working with other agencies to crack down on online scams, which have increased in scale and volume during the pandemic. NPC Commissioner Raymond Liboro said the government has formed an investigating coordinating center for the purpose. Through the center, the NPC will work with the DTI and the DOJ, the BSP, to eradicate scams and unfair practices like public shaming related to debt.
The government has responded means dun sa mga specific cases, no? For example, dun sa mga online lending apps that have been found out to do unjust collection and public shaming. No? We have worked closely with the SEC and the BSP on this, and the DTI. No? So really, and just to answer your question, yes, government is moving towards that, again, to address this growing problem.
Meanwhile, PLDT and SMART's Chief Information Security Officer, Angel Redoble, says the best way to avoid falling prey to scams is to always be paranoid. He explains that it pays to be overly suspicious of online and mobile transactions and interactions, rather than realize too late that you're being scammed.
For example, if you receive an email allegedly coming from your bank, do not believe that. You have to verify that. If you receive a text message coming from your bank, do not believe that. You should verify that. You should be paranoid, because that's how you get to become a victim. When you start feeling confident, no, and your confidence will become your weakness.
Apple is currently working to produce new watches and iPads with larger screens. Mark Gurman gives us the updates on this and more tech headlines on Bloomberg Technology Power On.
I'm Mark Gurman with Bloomberg Technology, and on this week's edition of Power On, I'll be taking a look at Apple's work on larger screened iPads, a refresh to its Apple Car management team, new devices from Amazon's Lab 126, as well as newfound competition in the wearable space between Apple and Peloton. First, larger screened iPads. Apple has designers and engineers exploring larger screened iPads for release a couple years down the road at the earliest, in order to take better advantage of the new faster processors, as well as improved software coming to the iPad this year. In addition, the company is working on new Apple Watches, including models with a blood glucose sensor, as well as a body temperature sensor, faster processors, updated screens, and other new various health technologies. Those will be released over the coming years, but for this year, expect a minor redesign with an improved display, faster chip, and new wireless capabilities. For next year, you can expect an update to the lower-end Apple Watch SE, a new Explorer or Adventure Edition with a rugged design to take on Garmin, as well as a more iterative update with that body temperature sensor to the flagship Apple Watch. Speaking of Apple, the company has also refreshed the leadership group for its autonomous car team after there were a few departures earlier this year. The company has promoted from within at least 5 senior engineers on the project to help Doug Field, the former head of the Model 3 program at Tesla, develop Apple's first entry into the electric self-driving car space later this decade. Next, let's move on to Amazon. The company is working on augmented reality glasses as well as a foldable Kindle. Neither of these devices are going to launch anytime soon, but it's interesting to see that Apple is not the only company in Cupertino exploring next-generation mobile devices with cool new pieces of technology integrated inside. Also, Peloton is working on its first wearable device, a heart rate monitor for your forearm. That could give the Whoop a run for its money and see more people using a Peloton heart rate monitor instead of an Apple Watch while using the Peloton digital app on iOS, Android, as well as the Peloton software on its own bikes and treadmills. I'm Mark Gurman, and you can subscribe to Power On at Bloomberg.com.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.